Welcome to project-based learning in the 7th grade science lab at Forest Lake Elementary Center. The teacher is Miss Rosalie Taylor, and she will be the one narrating this one. So take it away, Miss Taylor.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rosalie Taylor, and I am a 7th grade science teacher and lab director at Forest Lake Education Center. And I would just like to take this time to sort of introduce you to a project, a PBL project that I worked with my 7th graders. Part of our curriculum, we have to teach the kids about the cells, plant and animal cells, and the functions of each part of the plant and animal cell. So what I did was, after going to a PBL training, I decided, okay, let's see if we can have the kids create 3D models of cities and compare those 3D models of cities to the parts and the functions of a cell. So the parts of the cities would be compared to the parts of the cell, and the functions of the parts of the city would be compared to the functions of the part of the cell. And I'm just going to talk about how we planned it and the end result. So thank you so much for listening. Now, establishing a wow factor is very important when you start your project. It gets the kids interested, and it makes the project that they're working on real. Real, it means that real people actually are involved with this. So we asked for parents if they knew anyone who was affiliated with politics in the town, the mayor's office, the police department, or courthouses. We also try to reach out to people who work in hospitals or who are majoring in biology, so they could kind of give them some feedback on the details of how the cell works. And also now there's a lot of videos that you could download that can also give the students information that we use actually to give the students information on creating cities. What's the best way to create a city? What kind of colors are important for people who live in cities? Is it good to have the cities spread out, or is it healthier to have the cities closer together, have community areas? All of those things we included in part of our research and in the wow factor as well. Having a good driving question will help to bring in all the points that you need or you're trying to convey to your students as to why they're working on this project. So you have to give them a clear idea what we're doing. So our question was the parts and functions of a cell and the parts and functions of a city, and can we compare them? How are they alike? So it gave them a good focus as to what we are working on, and that is very important. Creating a public project helps the students to have a sense of community, as in I'm not just learning this in isolation. This actually is so that I can present it or share it with my community. For our students, it was for the 1st and 5th grade students. We also had parents who came in, we had administration came in, we had people from the community who didn't have kids there, but who wanted to hear their project. So it gave them a sense of responsibility to make sure that the project is a good project and it answers the questions, because other people are depending on me to get the information from me. Okay, when you are creating a project, you need to make sure that it is standard-based, because the students, even though they're working on a project and it is fun and they're working with groups, you still have to get grades. And you still have to be accountable to your bosses. So you have to have some kind of standards involved in the work. You must be making sure that the children are achieving that standard, that they're passing that standard, that they are learning. This is a list of the objectives that I used with my students as they were working through the project. This is some websites that I used to help the students plan their cities. Okay, now before I had the students work in groups, the students were required to create an individual cell city map. And here is just the rubric for what their points were, what they were required to do, and the steps that they had to follow to complete it. In the PBL, I needed to make sure that the students not only could work together as a group and provide the information, that individually they knew what they were going to be talking about. So individually, as a student on their own, they were able to contribute to the group project. So now it says project agreement and task assignments. Please, as the teacher, you assign the groups. Because if the kids assign the groups, they're going to want to work with their friends, and they're not always going to get along with their friends, or maybe just one or two people will be doing most of the work, which is what happens with the friend group. But if you put them together, I think Dr. Nugent has a rubric that she uses, and she and I was doing that too. You group them by their by their grades. So you want to make sure that that group is mixed up. So you don't have all the B students working with the B students, all the A students working with the A students. You mix them up, and then you have groups have an assigned task. So each person is assigned something. They're responsible for something in that group, and they answer to the group. This is just the assignment that everybody is working on, that they agree to. You have to make sure that they know what they are supposed to be doing. So I would say this over and over again, just to make sure everyone was clear on what the expected outcome was. Now this is basically how I wanted the teams to work together. Each team member they self-evaluate. So they evaluate themselves and they evaluate the members of their team. And then we come together, I as a teacher would meet with them and discuss how they're working together and if we needed to make any changes. Each team creates a presentation and a script, because you have to know what you're going to say. So they come together and discuss what they're going to cover and how they're going to cover it. And everybody on the team must present. So when they're doing their presentations, it's not just one or two people that are speaking. Everyone has to participate. Everyone has to show knowledge. Now here are the students that have been working on their projects. This is my science lab, and as you see, as we go along the lab, your classroom is going to look a little different, and it's going to sound a little different. There are a lot of talking, there's a lot of rearranging. At one point, my classroom was just full of cardboard, paints, scissors, all kinds of things, but I didn't mind because they were learning, and this is what project-based learning is about. It's not about sitting in the desk quietly. There is, as I would call, controlled chaos, because you know what's going on, but if somebody else comes in, they're not quite certain. But there's a lot of learning going on there. As you can see, there's cardboard boxes all over the place, paints everywhere, but they're on task, they're thinking, they're learning, and they're discussing. And there's so much energy going on. It's creative energy, but they're focused on their project. And I just walked around and I facilitated, stopped by their groups, make sure they had what they needed. Everybody knew what their tasks were, and they were able to discuss that with me, what they were supposed to be doing, and what was working for them and what was not working for them. Some more pictures of the lab and the chaos. The gentlemen sitting on the floor, they were actually creating a city from Lord of the Rings, Mordor. So they were actually putting a lot of clay on their the cardboard that they had. But there was a lot of planning that went into that. They drew it out, they discussed it, they talked about what kind of materials they would use. The ladies up front, they were actually making a floating tower city, and there was a lot of discussion going on there. And it was great to watch and see what. Welcome to FLEC Cell City Extravaganza. The rest of the slides basically show you what the extravaganza looked like, some of the projects that the students have created. It shows you how they were discussing their projects with the little kids. And if you look at the concentration of the kids as they're listening to our students, and the pride in our students' faces, because now they are showing to the public what they have learned. We had parents who came by, members of the community, we had students, and of course the children who came. Using PBL it's a lot of work at first, but just to see the kids own their own learning and then share their learning, it's all worth it. I hope this has been interesting and helpful. And please, PBL all the way.
I had the privilege of attending the Cell City Extravaganza, and it was phenomenal. As she said, the students really enjoyed watching. The students who were presenting were intent as they were explaining. Again, I'd like to thank you for presenting this for us, Mrs. Taylor, and we'd like to thank her students for doing all of this work and having all of this fun. Cell City Extravaganza.